even though we know in our gut that I must leave because I have the ability to do the other one, like it'll be fine, we still stay, right? Like we still like make it happen. We stay in marriages that we don't want to stay. We know in our gut it's over. We can't like be like, no, but I'm going to try to make it work. But then just wasting everyone's time, right? Like I feel like if you don't trust your gut, you're just wasting a lot of time. So like I feel like with trust, like you said, yes, it takes time to build it, but when it comes to practicing it, if it comes to practicing self-trust, does not that's a very fast process, and it can actually save you a lot of resources over the course of your life because you listen to nobody else but yourself, and then with the practices you shared, you kind of strengthen it and continue to grow it because you cannot like it's a muscle, you have to keep building it, you
Yep.
know. And
Yep.
that's what self-confidence is too, right? Like confidence means to trust, and self-confidence is trust yourself, and then sort of build from that and make better decisions, go faster, and do well. So now tell us, what was the last major decision you made with all these, tools in your toolkit, and how does that change the course of your life? Was there anything major you did in the last few weeks, months, or years that comes to mind?
Um, I think a couple of area times that I have made certain decisions that I was like, oh God, what was I thinking? Right. You always feel that. There was a certain point when I was transitioning out of Cisco and I took a break. I think the two inflection points were the break points, actually.
Mm,
I would say, I'd been working in Cisco for like 16 years and um, I think I was at a point where I was done, right?
mm,
And I was not, I think for about a year, I was kind of kind of like not acknowledging that thought for myself, right? I think I had two kids and, my younger one was barely like 2.5, 3 years old. And I mean, it was just so much going on with kids and they were pretty young actually. And so I was like, what am I doing? And like, Cisco's a really good company and it's been very, very kind to me and things like that. It's like, what am I there? But then, it just so happened like, I just basically was out from there. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to figure out where I want to go. And that was the time that I was looking at I was thinking that I may want to go into product management and things like that because that was the last role that I had basically done and things like that. So I took a break actually for about a year for personal
mm,
reasons, for personal commitments that I had to fulfill. But then I think what I did actually that year was because I was off and because my kids were pretty young and things like that, I just decided to travel a lot and make vacation plans and like one or two were solo, the other one were like with kids and take kids everywhere. I they were not in public schools, so you don't have the holiday issues and things like that. They were in take care,
yeah.
so I was like, okay, let's just take it's okay. So I roamed around a lot actually for almost like 12 months. Like I think I'm pretty sure 3 4 months we went on vacations. I think the amount of vacations I did was like the thing. So my
Awesome.
husband was like, "You need to go back to work," you know. But that was one thing that kind of like changed. And then when I did my, I think one of the things that I wanted to do at that point was that I said I wanted to basically be in healthcare and I
Mm,
want to basically go back into healthcare, not go back, but go into that. And, I'm coming from a networking industry and I'm going into like healthcare and things like that, right? So I was like, okay, let's this again. Then I happened to talk to a friend and he knew somebody who was actually looking for somebody for a role which related to doing deployments in hospitals. And they wanted to use some of my engineering skills that I had from before. And it was all related to, networking and things like that. So I kind of like got in. And that was the next company that I went in was Verana Health. There I basically was there for about 6 years, but I think they're also like, that's where I made my foray into security. And foreign into security was like, I had some amount of experience in a certain area before that, but then there's a lot bigger thing that needs to get, accomplished within that realm of security, compliance, privacy. It's a very, very big field.
mm,
And I think there also, like, it was a gut that told me, like, my gut told me get into healthcare, go into healthcare. There was a personal reason that I was also toying with because of
mm,
which I wanted to get into healthcare. And then the other reason was like my gut just said, I think this is the place for you. And then when I started getting into some of the data security aspects and the security operations aspect and all of that, and I was like, oh my god, this world is just amazing. Like, you could never get bored because it's so intellectually stimulating, and you cover such a breadth of topics, right? And you're able to kind of, at the end of it, like when you go through the whole thing, at the end of it, you're able to kind of talk about all of these areas, right? It gives you a sense of accomplishment. And
Mm.
it was purely gut that just told me that time that you need to try this and you need to do this, and I think you will like it. And I did it, and I have not looked back since then. And I had a really good run at Verana. I had a really amazing boss, and learned a lot from him and all of that. And there also, it was a gut, like, okay, that I'll connect and I'll be able to learn. And I had that trust in myself that, if I push, I will get to where I want to be. And I had certain goals that I actually ended up hitting also in the company. And then I took my second break after that, because I felt that, I just needed to take a step back and like really think, what is it that I this thing? And this is where, you have your inflection points and you need to respect those inflection points, right? And you need to be in a position. I mean, like everybody cannot respect because, they're in a time and place which doesn't work out. But if there is a time and place that works out for you, or you're able to make the time and place work, you should respect that inflection point.
Mm.
And then I took about a month, about 9 months, I think, or about a year actually, a year of
Mm.
break. And it really changed me as a person. And I think that's when I joined you as well, Prasha,
Mm.
and found a friend in you, with whom we could have very good conversations. Uh, but I think it was, I would say that as a person, I grew and I kind of listened to myself more than what I listened in the previous inflection point, to be
Yeah.
honest. And
Yeah.
I think that's where I would say that those are the two main areas
You
that I would say
you did.
yeah, I
Yeah.